Hello and thanks for watching another edition of ARFCOM News. Today I want to tell you about the Calistanny Sheriff's Office who claims their dogs can sniff out homemade guns, why legalizing the devil's lettuce in New York led to reduced gun arrests, and the unanimous Supreme Court ruling which put the brakes on warrantless searches of guns. But before we get started, I want to tell you about the fine mahogany night vision products with custom Corinthian leather trim offered to you by our friends at TNVC.com. Artfully handcrafted by earnest, hardworking Amish operators, TNVC night vision is unique and uncompromising, just like you. If you like seeing stuff more than not seeing stuff, take a look at our sponsor, TNVC.com, your source for quality night vision gear to make you the bump in the night. Can you smell ghosts? The Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office thinks they can. So-called ghost guns are the new whipping boy for the control freaks. The intentionally loaded term is used to conjure the specter of untraceable, undetectable guns. It's inaccurate, nonsensical propaganda, and I'm frankly sick of the legacy media uncritically repeating everything they hear from the authoritarians trying to ban fun. Such is the case with this article from KSBY, which reports the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office trained a dog to sniff out so-called ghost guns. What they really mean is the dog can smell steel, polymer, and ammunition. Zeke is trained to alert on what we call polymer 80s, which is the grip part of the handgun. He's also trained to alert on the steel, the slides, and the ammunition we use for firearms. Okay, so Polymer 80 is a specific company which manufactures 80% receivers, but they are not the only ones, and they don't use a 3D printing process. And no, we don't call the grip part of a handgun a Polymer 80. What's more, I can't think of any reason their receivers would smell different from a factory Glock receiver or any other polymer framed handgun, but apparently they smell 80 times more differenter. KSBY failed to ask any sort of critical questions whatsoever. For example, I can see how this skill would be useful for finding a weapon in the bushes, but wouldn't the dog alert on virtually any plastic, steel, or ammo? How does the goodest boy distinguish between non-gun materials and guns? For that matter, how does he distinguish between legally owned guns and illegal? There are just so many problems here, I can't possibly get to all of them. And I have to admit, this whole thing makes me a little angry. But the problems start with the use of goodest boys in policing in general. It's well known that while dogs are good for seeking out contraband, it's just farcical to use them to gain probable cause for a search. Their rates of false positives are insane. And why shouldn't they? Their handler is pleased when they find something, and not the dog's fault, of course, but when you use them to find something like cocaine, which is almost always illegal, at least the use is rational, if you ignore how often they're wrong. But using them to sniff out plastic, steel, and ammo is just bat guano crazy because of all of the false positives they're bound to create. This isn't even strictly a Second Amendment issue. This is yet another insult to the now entirely defunct Fourth Amendment. The state no longer has any real impediment to conducting searches of our persons, papers, and effects. But as the failed war on some drugs grinds to an excruciating halt, we are seeing just a little bit of breathing room. New York recently legalized jazz cabbage, so that means police no longer get to search vehicles just because they smell left-handed cigarettes, and that has led to a notable decrease in gun-related arrests. About half as many people are being arrested on gun charges now, and previously about half of the arrests for gun charges originated with a vehicle stop, with most of those involving wacky tobacco. An unnamed Bronx police officer told the New York Post, "When cops smelled marijuana, they searched cars and found guns. They can't do that now, so naturally gun callers will go down." Remember, this is a city with some of the most draconian laws in the nation, so the mere possession of any gun means prison time for those who aren't wealthy and powerful enough to have their attorneys bribe the police into issuing a permit. But New York also removed the protection of qualified immunity from police officers, which prompted the police union to issue a letter to officers strongly cautioning them not to conduct any stop or search unless you are certain you are clearly and unequivocally within the bounds of the law. Now, I know there's probably a fair bit of disagreement among you fine people about qualified immunity. I'm a bit conflicted myself insofar as I recognize police need to be able to act in good faith and not lose everything they own just because they turned out to be mistaken. On the other hand, shouldn't they already be certain that they are within the bounds of the law before they conduct a search? I mean, when police interact with the public, that interaction has potentially severe consequences for the subject of their attentions. The people have a right to be secure in their persons, papers, and effects, and that right should not be brushed aside carelessly on a whim. Police should be absolutely certain they are acting legally when they conduct a search. What do you think? Comment down below. This is why I'm pleased to see the Supremes reach a unanimous decision in Caniglia versus Strom, rejecting a warrantless seizure of firearms under the excuse of community caretaking. Caniglia got in an argument with his wife, during which he set an unloaded gun on a table and told her, "Why don't you just shoot me and get me out of my misery?" She spent the night at a hotel, then she couldn't reach him in the morning, so she called police to check on him. He agreed to go to a hospital on the condition the police promise not to seize his guns. The police agreed and then immediately broke their promise, seizing his guns without a warrant. The Supremes found that seizure to be unconstitutional in a rare 9-0 decision. This case doesn't directly address the issue of red flag laws, but it does implicate them, as Justice Alito pointed out in his concurrence. Hopefully, it won't be too long before we see a conclusive ruling on red flag laws as well. Well, friends, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoy watching these things because I sure like making them for you. Remember, kids, if you are not already subscribed to the AR15.com YouTube channel, you make puppies cry, and Captain America is very disappointed in you. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to stay in the know on all the 2A news. If you'd like to help us keep bringing you banger content like this, please support the folks who support us. Not only does TNVC.com give you night vision with that cool, refreshing, never bitter taste that goes down smooth, they also have mounts, lights, and all sorts of other gear to make you the bump in the night. I love you.